The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He sliced through. He tags Richard Eck.
Last week saw the Kamel GT Series tackle a classic sports car course with plenty of long acceleration zones to ease the stress of interclass traffic. Flip everything around. Barber Motorsports Park is new, twisty, technical, and has very few long straights. The difficulty level will undoubtedly go through the roof, and we'll see who can cope with it as we get ready to watch round 4 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Barber doesn't see all that much use on iRacing, but with it being one of my favorites, I have to confess, I'm happy to see it show up on the Kamel schedule.
Geez, you and our director both just really enamored with this track here, Barber Motorsports Park. I'm glad it has its fans, because it's a tough one for me to figure out. But Barber Motorsports Park is a multi-purpose racing facility that opened, only back in 2003 on 740 acres of rolling countryside, a little place called Leeds, Alabama. Now this track, 2.38 miles, yes, that's 3.83 kilometers, includes 16 turns. Now this track is narrow with passing opportunities in short supply. It's a fast, short track. It's definitely tough, but the best way to get an idea of what this place is really like is to jump on board the GSRC Kamel GT and take a trip around Barber Motorsports Park.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Barber. Down into turn 1, expect a lot of understeer with how the track drops away. But immediately, you've got to get yourself ready for the Alabama roller coaster. This long, rolling bend is best if you square off your exit to try and get a better launch. The tricky part is that you'll need a hair of a lift through turn 4, and yet you'll also want to keep your speed up as much as you can. That's because Charlotte's Web is easily the most popular passing spot on this track. You definitely don't want to be vulnerable into here. Watch the curves to the inside because they can bounce the car all over as you're trying to apply more throttle. From there, hold to the left for the best line into Museum Corner. Overtakes can be made into here, but you really can't stay side by side through this weaving downhill plunge. At the third apex, try to tuck the car into the inside as best you can so that you can really mash the gas at the bottom of the hill. Then first up on the back half of the course is the 10-11 chicane. Brush the brakes going in, and then as soon as it feels like it'll grip, get to the power. Drift back across to the right, and then steel yourself for the 12-13 chicane. You'll be slowing through the left-hander, then easing back onto the gas as you crest through 13. You'll only be flat to the floor briefly because 14 becomes one long drifting arc into 15. It's best not to hug the inside because the radius tightens sharply at the end. Plus, you don't want the car to push wide so that you've got a better line into the final turn. There's a lot of banking here, but the car will once again want to understeer on the power. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Barber. So you can see just how twisty it is around here and how difficult it will be to try and make passes. But let's take a look at where the drivers sit in the points championship. VCR Prototype Championship is up first here. And up at the top, not surprisingly, Keith Ritchie once again dominating the field. He's got 21 points over Leno Luoto, who seems to be the only one that can keep him in check, although Rob Olenek is certainly giving it the good old college try. He's got himself into third in the points, but he is a long ways back. A little bit farther down, 127 points back from our leader, you've got Nicholas Mukanos, who's been on a pretty good season. Him and Michael Houghton separated by over 150 points, though. Houghton has just moved himself up into fifth. Let's go to the team championship on the prototypes. Of course, you've got Olenek and Mukanos up at the top, with Mukanos having gotten himself up into the top 5 in the driver points. They're obviously doing fairly well this season for Team Toyota. The Silk Cut Jaguars of Ritchie and Hall, of course, have moved downwards into second, and then everything has stayed the same from third to fourth. Leno Luoto and Lanini and the Saubers are a long ways back, and then Ihimaki and McLeod still have even more points back there in fourth, and then Repsol Brun with, I'm afraid I can't pronounce that first name very well, and McPhail sitting in fifth. Now let's go to the Audi, Sean, and see how those look.
Let's do it, Joe, and look at this VCR GTO Championship. Yes, sir. Ove Trengarade there at the top, buddy. And that Skull Bennett Racing team sitting there solid with 23 points to the good over Brian Strodbeck. And I wonder if I haven't seen Strodbeck, and I don't know if he's going to be here today. He's not, so Strodbeck's certain to take a hit by not being here today. Ben Laughter down there in third, up a couple spots. Philip Lake in fourth, and Andrew Backey rounded out the top 5, up a spot, but 163 points out. Let's look at the team championship here in the GTO series here, and you've got Skull Bennett Racing there, and Trent Grade, Shanahan there, up to first, 2 spots. Roush Racing with Strodbeck and Quinn taking a step back, and Phil Lake and Andrew Backey there in third. 100 points out already out the lead. That's Lake, and that's Cunningham Racing. So they've got a little bit of work to do. Lake, Backey looking for a good run today.
Qualifying is underway. We've only got about 3.5 minutes left to go on that. Of the GTP class, I notice Antti Lepisto seems to be the only one up towards the top right now, trying to get his second lap in. Keith Ritchie only got 1 lap in, but that was enough to put him on pole, interestingly. Oh, and he's coming back out now, so he's going to give it another try. We're watching Lepisto work his way through the back half of the course. Through that 9 and 10 complex, pretty much flat out in these Nissans. Then around the long final corner.
It's long indeed. It seems like it never stops turning, Joe.
I always found it incredibly difficult to get the right line through there. He's currently sitting in 5th. Let's see if he can go any higher than that. He gets bumped down to 6th before he can cross the line. And he gets himself up into 3rd. A nice job by Lepisto. AJ Bear coming across the line as well. And he puts a time in for 8th. That is his second lap, so qualifying is over for the Australian. John Keefe as well. He is only going to be as high as 11th. Not a good qualifying for John.
Certainly would have liked to gotten more out of it for sure.
Of the Audis, Ben Laughter, the only one still out on track, trying to put a time in. Everybody else has gotten theirs down, and as he completes his second lap, the highest he's going to go is 3rd.
Yeah, that second lap just a little bit slower. We'll focus on Richie here.
I'm seeing Richie having completed his second lap already, actually.
Yeah, he has. Yep.
It might have counted his outlap as his second lap, it seems. He's still on the pole and by a whole 3/10. Now, the big talking point for us, Sean, is John Malia, who apparently has been running the Camel Series quite a bit, but we're trying to recall whether or not we've seen him run on the broadcast yet.
Yeah, and honestly, I just don't remember calling his name. I don't think we've actually seen him on a broadcast yet, but I'm certainly interested to see what he brings to the table today. He was awful fast in the practices that we were watching, and actually a little surprised, actually, that Richie got the edge on him there by about 0.4 of a second. And
with what seemed like on his very first lap, he had that pace in there. So Richie looks to be incredibly quick, but can he hold it over the course of the race? We're watching Michael Morris, who is yet to put his first lap in himself, and Michael Steiner, the last of our Nissans to try and get one on the board. They've only got a few seconds to go. Steiner should be able to get his in. Morris might be a little bit tight here. Steiner coming down that front stretch. And, he's actually not going to complete this lap. Steiner must have had an off, or he wants to start from the back of this pack as he rolls it across the line. Interesting maneuver. All right, that's going to be the grid then. So let's go through our field on the pole. As we said before, Keith Ritchie is going to be on the inside of John Malia, who will start in second. Then we go to row 2. Antti Lepisto starts in third. Nicholas Mukanos will be next to him in fourth. Row 3 will be Jamie Hall starting in fifth, and Rob Olenek in sixth. Jesus Basillas will be seventh, followed by AJ Barron eighth. Martin Krejcik will start in the ninth position. Behind him in 10th will be Clayton McLeod. John Keefe will start in 11th. There'll be Michael Kopak in 12th. And the last of the GTPs to have gotten a time in is Jason Wallet. Will be starting in 13th. Michael Steiner and Michael Morris did not put times in. Steiner did put a time in, but it was well behind the GTO field. He will start at the back of the GTPs with his class.
Okay, and there we go. Going to go to row 7 there. It's going to be Mikko Riscola going to start it off for the GTOs there. Great qualifying lap by him. Philip Lake starting second in class. Ben Laughter third. Franco Scurri will start fourth. Hideki Koivisto fifth. Bronislav Romanek will start sixth today. Spencer Kimball, seventh place for him. Zalex de Paris, 8th and 9th. Going to go to Riley Thompson, the Mid-South driver, in his Audi GTO today.
Okay, Sean, so we have no Stradbeck and we have no De Jong. And the gap between Riscola and Lake for the top of the GTOs is 1.3 seconds, I'm seeing. Can anybody stop Mikko today?
Boy, that's a really, really good question. Can anybody stop him? Yeah, I think so. I think Laughter or Lake could possibly make a run at him. Hideki Koivisto, you never know. He's back there lurking, but he is awful fast. That was a very, very impressive time, and like you said, over a second. That's just crazy.
I think the point our director made in the chat is what I was thinking. Is the Nissans could stop Riscola. The traffic, my goodness, the traffic.
Yeah.
24 cars out there today, a little bit larger of a GTP field. Are we going to see some chaos?
I think so, Joe. I think it's... Boy, there's some really, really slow, tight turns here, and I think we'll see a stack up at some point. I hope not, but I don't know. I see these things, right? I'm like Conor McGregor. I have an idea when these things are going to happen. No, but seriously, I think the potential for that is big. And speaking of big, that could be the big one that really ends the race early for a lot of these guys as they try and get the heat in these tires on that opening lap.
And you mentioned those slow corners. These Nissans certainly don't like coming out of slow speed corners with the turbo lag that they have. A lot of power, a lot of downforce, but unfortunately doesn't have the mechanical grip that can deal with the oomph that comes once it kicks in as they work their way past the infamous spider on the back half of the course. Roof pace car going to lead them away. It's a split start with two classes out there today. If you're joining us for the first time here on the Global Sim Racing channel to watch the Kamel GT series, you are in for a treat with these retro machinery working their way in multi-class sports car racing as the roof pace car peels off in a pit lane. That gives Keith Ritchie control of the field. Around that final corner, they are not stacked up very well, and Malia, indeed, is not going to be beside him once they go up to speed across the start-finish line. A little bit of a challenge by Jamie Hall on Mukanos, but he gets single file. Pretty much everybody doing the same through that quick first corner. A little bit of a problem behind them, and we have contact between Wallet and Morris.
Oh boy, it's going to be right in front of the GTOs coming down the hill here. It is Ruscola off to a big start, but Philip Lake and Ben Laughter right on his tail. The GTOs have gone line astern here through their field, Joe.
Thankfully, the GTPs have gotten away. The two cars involved in that don't look like they should be caught by these GTOs. Very close moment for second in the GTOs as Laughter closes in on Lake down into Charlotte's Web, but he doesn't get the run off the corner.
No, he doesn't. In fact, he swings it out wide and loses that momentum there, and now chasing Laughter down into this complex. Oh boy, and Laughter right up again on the bumper of Philip Lake.
Relatively uneventful though for the GTOs, and our GTPs are just getting ready to finish that first lap. Ritchie starting to stretch away from Malia, who was under threat from Lepisto, who gets a good exit out of that last corner, and they're starting to get away from one another. While we got a chance, why don't we take a look at that incident between Wallet and Morris down into turn one? I think there was a third car involved, actually. Looks like a bit of a stack up there. He was side by side with Michael Steiner, who was on the outside in that Japanese-themed machine. Wallet just a little bit too much curb.
Yeah, I think the curb was his enemy there, Joe. It got the car around, and then that car behind him, Michael Morris, it picks up a little bit of damage by getting into him. It was right there in front of him. He had nowhere to go.
We go back to our leader, Ritchie. There was a bit of a challenge from Clayton McLeod on John Keefe into Museum Corner that time by, but he backed out of it, not willing to go too wide this early in this 45-minute race.
Ruscola back here in the Audi starting to open things up a bit, Joe. He's gone to 1.4 seconds. Lake and Laughter still having a really good battle here, though.
Laughter's not letting him get away, but McLeod seems to have had a problem. He's stationary. Oh, he is in the tires over out of turn 12.
Joe, it started with his entry there into, you see here, he misses it, gets off in that grass, and it sends him.
Yeah, that first apex looked like he just bounded over the curb. Now, that kind of surprises me. Twice now we've seen the curbs play a role in these Nissans. I know in my time driving the Audi, you had to be a little bit wary of some curbs, but I would think that the Nissan has so much downforce that they would really amount to nothing in this car.
Yeah, not a whole lot of trouble spots here, but I think he just got a little bit too off far right of center of that curb, and the grass, I think, played a factor there too.
You're right on board with John Malia in second place. He's being chased by Lepisto. Unfortunately, the wake of these cars seems to have separated quite a few of them. with a lot of technical, quick corners. Still Lepisto staying in the hunt and keeping him in check. Newcomer Malia, well, I shouldn't say newcomer. He's been driving in the Kamel series for quite a while, but newcomer to our broadcast. Soaking up the pressure for now.
Yeah, I think when I looked at Malia's stats, I think Kamel GT is the only thing he's run for the past year, at least on the road side.
Holding his own as they come down to Charlotte's Web. Lepisto closing in, very good under the brakes, it looks like. Is he good off the corner? Oh, the car squirmed and just couldn't keep the power down. That cost him some time. While this is happening, oh, and he cuts the course through Museum Corner. Is he going to get a slowdown penalty for that? Mukanos is right with him, ready to pick up the pieces. And I'm not seeing Lepisto slow yet. He might have gotten away with it. Richie is off with traffic. Who is that he's with?
Oh, that was Zalix de Paris.
Whoa,
Oh,
and
man.
AJ Bear barely misses him. Let's watch the replay, see what happened. And it looks like de Paris was just slow through
Really
9
slow.
and 10.
I mean, he was crawling through there. Bear trying to stay in his racing line, and boy, that's going to hurt.
Let's watch on board Richie, see how fast this erupts in front of him. His West driver can see him very clearly. And yeah, the closing rate just, oh my goodness.
I guess he thought Zalek was going to move out to the left, so he tried to stay in there on the curb and try and take his natural line through there. Obviously, it did not work out. Man.
Yeah, I'm looking at de Paris' lap times, and it looks as though he's actually about 10 seconds off the pace, so I can understand the confusion for our former leader. Well, this is going to hand it over to John Malia, who after that incident stretched it away from Lepisto now that he's got the fire lit under him. 1.5 seconds between our leader and our chaser. Over the Audi,
Okay, yeah.
second place is up for grabs, though.
Yeah, Laughter and Lake still going at it. It does look like Laughter maybe might have something finally. Still a lot of racing left to go, Joe. We've got 29 laps still here to knock out, but Laughter
Ooh.
right up on him again.
That Commodore Audi almost made a nice blue imprint on Philip Lake's car, but thankfully just kept it out of the gearbox. Now coming up to Museum Corner. That'll be something for Laughter to keep, though, in his mind. He's obviously a lot stronger on the brakes than Lake is into Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, and well, we'll see how that holds up over time here, as far as the tires go and just the overall, well, the aero, the draft. So, but Laughter with a good run here. Just gotta have to stay consistent, stay out of trouble.
We might want to go to our GTP leaders. They're starting to come into more Audi traffic, and I wonder if this is going to play a role in how this unfolds. Riley Thompson, the next one up for Malia, gets held up just a little bit, coming over the crest. Look at the alternate lines they're all having to take to try and weave their way through this slower class. Didn't seem to help Lepisto, but it did help Mukanos. Closed in to under a second on the fin. Behind them, this is tightened things up for fourth place. Jamie Hall, Pasilias, and Olenek all in a tight fight here.
Hideki Quivizzo going to be the car that has to get out of the way here for all this this GTP traffic coming through now, and just behind Antti Lepisto has a little bit of trouble there getting out of that hairpin.
Oh, and the car, wow, that was Mukanos sending it in deep, trying to get by Quivizzo before Museum Corner so that he didn't lose touch with Lepisto. It paid off, but it was risky. John Keefe is very upset about something. He's off in Museum Corner.
Yeah, and it was contact with Martin Krychek. Hard to fault Martin right here. I mean, they take it 3 wide, trying to get around the Audi.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't blame Martin for giving it a go. He saw traffic, and yeah, it was a risk, but there's so few opportunities to pass here. Oh, back on the lead. Things have tightened up. Traffic must have gotten involved with these two and slowed up our leader Malia as Lepisto is off to the grass to try and get around the car of Philip Lake. He manages to hold on to it. Lake now overtaken by Mukanos, and it's a 3-way fight to the lead now that Mukanos is in the mix. Behind them, a battle has also erupted. Laughter got in the way of Jamie Hall and Jesus Pasilius. Are we going to see a repeat of what we saw a lap ago with Keefe? They stay behind, but Pasilius loses out, or gains a spot on Hall through all that action as they try to get to the power. Still trying to get around Laughter. Holds to the side. 2 of them get by, but poor Olenek is the odd man out in that fight.
Poor Ben Laughter, too. He's just trying to hang on to 3rd place, man. And his battle with Philip Blake has gotten severely broken up by all this traffic coming through.
Well, now Malia has fallen down positions. We missed a pass for the lead, and that took place just about 30 seconds ago, coming up to Ruscola. Coming into 12 and 13, you can see it's held up, has to go off track.
You know what? He was right behind our GTO leader, Miko Ruscola, and he had to check up big time when he got up behind Miko. That cost him that spot.
Both Mukanos and Lepisto managed to sneak through. They're not away from Malia. Oh, Lepisto with turbo lag, losing control of the car. This hands it over to Mukanos. 2 lead changes within 1 lap here up in the GTP field, and Malia's looking to make it 3 as he's already handing Mukanos.
Wow. Crazy days here at Barber.
Well, I wondered if it would be a little bit chaotic here with the traffic and not having many opportunities. It certainly has proved to be in the first 15 minutes. Your order of your top 5 as it has shuffled around in the GTPs: Mukanos, Malia, Lepisto, Hall, Pasilius. Here we see Pasilius in the bright blue machine. Olenek is giving chase. He's trying to change that top 5 position one more time. Not missing much of anything over in the GTOs. They're all pretty separated. Ruscola leads by about 3 seconds, 4 seconds over Philip Lake, who's split away from Ben Laughter with the traffic. Meanwhile, Olenek still on the charge. Threatened Pasilius through Charlotte's Web, but he falls back in line. We checked in on our GTOs. Now we see this fight.
You know, Joe, and it's a good fight here. I'm trying to give a little light here on the GTO class. You know, Franco Scurry, that's a driver I don't think we've seen either here in the GTOs. He's having a pretty solid run back here in 4th. Koivitso's the driver chasing him. He's still over 4 seconds behind him. He's about 6, close to 7 seconds behind Laughter, but having a pretty quiet drive and doing a good job of staying out of the way of this traffic. This Nissan traffic coming through here. The car looks good.
One of the few cars out on track with some space to himself right now. Everybody else is dealing with traffic or fighting with someone close by for position. We might want to go back to Olenek, who is all over the rear wing of Pasilius now, and this is his best opportunity. Down into Charlotte's Web. Takes a look, sends it in deep. Can he make it stick, though? Has to watch out for those inside curbs, trying to get the run off the corner. Pasilius comes back at him, and that is Michael Steiner, who's a lap down to the inside. Pasilius doesn't quite have the guts to make it come back to him. Great job by Olenek. That moves him into the top 5 now in the GTP class.
Okay. Ben Laughter's starting to get back into his groove, Joe, and is starting to catch Philip Blake again.
Seeing what he can do to reel him in. I'm not sure if we want to be watching the Audis right now, though, because our overall lead has closed down. For a while, it was down to 0.3 of a second. They got more traffic to deal with. That's Spencer Kimball getting out of the way. And then the other Audi is Zalex Dupari. Holds them out just a little bit, allows Lepisto to get into this fight somewhat.
Boy, and I'll be honest, I don't know if Zalex is driving this car for the first time or not, but he is really, really slow on track. It's really making it a challenge for all the drivers to get around him, to be honest with you.
Well, hopefully once they've gone by once, they'll keep it in mind, know that, hey, might be a little bit more off the pace next time through. But look at this fight for P1. Swapped hands. I believe we've had 3 lead changes overall so far, with Keith Ritchie falling victim to traffic problems. Usually we don't see nearly this many changes for the lead in the Nissan class.
Yeah, and Malia really starting to put this pressure on Mucanos here, Joe. Seems to have really gotten with it now, and they're going to have a little bit of traffic in front of him here to break it up.
Robanek down in the Audi. He's going to hold to the inside as the downforce allows them to just cruise around the long Alabama roller coaster. All of them through safely. Malia loses a little bit of ground on Mucanos, and now he's got Lepisto getting up on his gearbox. Into Museum Corner they go one more time, all line astern. And just behind them, Jamie Hall has found some pace. He's been able to work his way through traffic a little bit better and has gained ground. He's within a second of the podium. There you see Hall in the blue and white machine. He's giving chase. Excuse me. Hall is in the Silk Cut Jaguar.
And Hall trying to make this work with some pretty significant front-end damage on that car. So wonder how much downforce he actually has. But he does seem to be closing in here just a bit.
Riley Thompson stays out of the way in the Audi. And now it gets even more complicated because they've got Jason Wallet on a slow pace. As they work their way around him, it's a lot harder to try and pass the car in your same class and put the lap on them. Once again, Lepisto proving he's very strong through this first half of the course, closing in on the back of Malia. Not close enough to have it dive down the inside into Charlotte's Web, though. This is one of the tightest fights we've seen for the top spots in a while, and I would have expected something like this more last week at Daytona.
At Daytona, yeah. Well, listen, it's been exciting. Lots of action for you here today from Barber, and wow, we've just got 20 laps to go. About 20 laps to go here is the 27.5 minutes remaining.
There's no shortage of excitement here in Alabama. Malia closes in through 14 and 15, but out of 16, just can't get himself a run to have a go down into turn 1. They all slow up, and they've got Hideki Koivisto now ahead of them. Oh, and look at this, holding up Mucanos. This gives Malia an opportunity. Looks to the inside, down into Charlotte's Web. They're going to be side by side into the corner. Koivisto continuing to confound the Nissans behind him. Mucanos tries to come back with an exit off of Charlotte's Web, but does not have the pace. Malia back into the lead, holds him off down into Museum Corner.
You know what? Nothing to blame Koivisto on there. Guy's just driving his line, and they've got to work through it. They did an excellent job of doing that.
And I don't know about you, but I always had just such a marginal time through turn 4 where he slowed up Mukano, so I kind of don't blame him for not giving up the apex there.
Right.
Oh, they got more Audis, though. Franco Scurry trying to stay out of the way. Allows the Nissans to scurry by.
Yeah, and... Oh, you threw me off there. Scurry does a solid job of letting the leaders get through. Second time he's done that. Scurry still hanging on to this 4th place spot. He's really solid.
They're down into turn 1. Again, one of the few Audis that just really seems to be running all by himself, nobody nearby. As we go back to Lepisto. Oh, and there's a dive in front of him as Mukanos gave a little bit of a thought to try and pass Malia, but couldn't outbreak him into the corner.
Boy, and these guys are about to catch this battle between Laughter and Philip Blake again.
And now that Malia is through into the lead, I'm wondering if he's got better pace and could potentially start to leave these guys behind.
Oh.
One gets through.
I don't think Ben meant to swing that wide out, but he did, and that, boy, made it really tricky for Malia getting by there. Oh, now Ben out on the grass.
Oh, and this is going to slow things up for Philip Lake. Has to take an alternate line. I think he might luck out as he almost squeezes into Lepisto, just giving him enough room. And indeed, he does not lose time to Laughter. That battle for P2. And the Audis, one of the closest right now. That's still being led by Mikko Ruskola. We asked the question, could anybody stop the Danger Kitty machine? It's not looking likely so far.
No, not very, is it? He'd get about 6 seconds to the good on Philip Blake. The Danger Kitty has been ferocious today at Barber.
He's clawed second after second away from the rest of the field, currently sitting at 7 seconds ahead. Now he's getting in the way of our Nissans once again, allowing Malia a bit of breathing room as Mukano slips through and Lepisto has to wait patiently. That's going to open up the door for Jamie Hall as he gets right onto the rear wing. We've got a car off next to them. We'll get back to that in a second. And unfortunately, Hall is unable to do anything with it. That's Riley Thompson.
Yeah, he nosed it in out of the turn. He got wide and off into the grass and hits it pretty hard. In fact, I think it's going to result in a tow.
We're watching the Audi work his way through 10 and 11.
He had a handful of wheel there, Joe. Couldn't slow her down. Still trying to get his way back on track. Not sure what he's doing out there in the grass.
He's staying off track, and there's no incident limit in this series, so he's safe to cruise around out there. It'll bring him back to the pits on the correct side. Most times it is just faster to drive the car back than to take a tow, so kind of don't blame him. I guess he's not worried about his safety rating.
Man, and once again, that Nissan traffic really broke up this battle between Philip Blake and Ben Laughter. All that work Laughter had put in to get close to Philip Blake again, well, he's going to have to do it all over again. And now, with only just about 16 laps to go when they come across the line, it's going to be a tough ask for Ben Laughter.
We've just hit the halfway mark, so let's give you our top 5 in each of the classes. Malia has finally pried the lead away with a little bit of luck and clever racing. And of course, in second, Nicholas Mukanos was the one that gave away that lead after holding it for quite a while, led 6 whole laps out here. He's being hunted by Antti Lepisto, who is probably asking what it takes for him to finally get into the lead here. He's had lots of opportunities, but nothing has really paved the way for him. Jamie Hall has been sitting in 4th patiently, almost a popcorn position for him for most of this race. And then rounding out the top 5 for the prototypes is Rob Olenek, only a second back from Hall. Sean?
Yes, sir. I'm on it here. We're looking at the GTO class, and Mikko Ruskola still in command of this race. He's now ahead by a significant margin, Joe. I don't think he's going to be caught. But Philip Lake still has to deal with Ben Laughter back in third. Now, Ben, like I said, that battle had broken up, and but I still think there's a chance here Laughter can get him before the end of this race. We'll see. Franco Scurry having a magnificent drive today, and Franco, for his efforts, finds himself in fourth, and well, pretty clear of any real battles because it's a little ways back to Hideki Koivitso, who has managed to hang on to his fifth spot. Hideki having a pretty clean race here so far, just like the rest of the guys in the Audis, just having to keep an eye in that mirror and make sure that these Nissans pass cleanly.
Incredibly, in all of this, I'm only seeing 4 DNFs so far. Some of the drivers look like they might try and get back out on track as well. Michael Morris, Keith Ritchie, Riley Thompson, and Michael Steiner look to be the only cars that are off the track at the moment.
Yeah, you know, Clayton McLeod was a surprise return to the race, and honestly, ever since he got back on track, he's been burning down some really good laps. Just unfortunately, he's so many laps down, it's just not going to matter at this point. But he is definitely a fast Nissan still.
Boy, Antti Lepisto is having lots of trouble trying to get away from Olenek and Hall. Oh, and a big mistake! Puts him off in turn 13. That allows at least Olenek to get by. Jamie Hall is seeing if he can maybe pry this spot away from it. It's going to switch back to the outside for Hall. The Silk Cut Jaguar cuts back across to try to get himself a launch. He's going to stay within the slipstream. Takes a little bit of a glance, but it's a fast corner into turn 1, and he has to stay back in 5th. Let's take a look at Lepisto's incident one more time. That had to have been scary.
Sure looks scary from here, Joe. There's Lepisto there in the black and red car.
That was 10 and 11 that he went through there. Now 12 and 13. Oof, just a little snap oversteer.
A little was all it took, though, and gonna lose spot there.
Now, I'm not sure if this is intentional or not. I don't know if it's just me, Sean. Does that car remind you of Deadpool? Antti Lepisto?
It kind of does. I wonder if that's what he was going for. That actually.
Someone get on that. Get him a paint scheme themed around that.
Definitely has the colors right.
Well, this slots him down into 4th, and he is, we should mention, the highest rated driver with the number 1 on that Nissan Antti Lepisto. This race probably going to cost him a little bit in the way of I rating, finishing as far down as 4th unless he can move himself up. He's got 18 minutes left to try and do something.
Not much changed here at the top of the GTO field. Miko Riscola right now still hanging on to a 9-second lead over Philip Lake. Riscola right now clear ahead, clear behind. He does have a lapped car, a lap GTO in front of him. He'll get there, but like I said, any threat from behind just not there right now.
And we had a change for position with Martin Krejcirek and Michael Kopak. He got past him for 8th spot. Now let's take a look at what instigated this, though. You can see Krejcirek coming up to, I'm not sure, is that Lake ahead of him, actually? Either way, you can see he got checked up severely and then lost his spot because of Kopak taking advantage. Now, Krejcirek just had another off live. Yeah. If we want to watch it after, he goes around the outside here in the replay and can't hold him off. As we come back live, this was coming into turn 2 that Krejcirek went off in the Alabama roller coaster, just returned without incident. As now we've got the replay here.
Yeah, he just got in a little bit hot, missed his line, and that puts him out in the dirt. Not where he wants to be.
I wonder if that's the psychological thing, being put off by the other class and then losing a position, if it just shakes you and you're suddenly not in the right mental space.
Well, you know what? And that's very, very important. You do have to be in the right mental space. And sometimes when things like that happen, you get a bit rattled. It's tough to reel things back in. It's one of those things that separates the really great drivers from the really good drivers, Joe. And focus so incredibly important. And if you lose it, sometimes it's really tough to get it back, especially when you're struggling.
There we watch our leader in the Audis, Ruscola, who's now stretched it to 10 seconds over Philip Lake, who's actually kept it roughly 5 seconds ahead of Laughter. The fight that I want to keep our eyes on is this battle for fourth and the GTPs. Lepisto, Hall, and Pasilius still going at it. Olenek is stretched away, though. He's got some pace.
Yeah, Rob trying very, very hard here to make sure he gets a podium finish.
The battle for first and the prototypes is potentially going to get together once again, as Mukanos has got it now within a second of Malia. He's going to need a little bit more help to try and close it in. The New York driver has certainly shown himself to be a potential threat here this season. A little bit of a look from the California driver of Mukanos.
Watch out.
Nice. Right on board, just looking over his shoulder.
Okay, Joe, just a quick update here from the GTOs. Looks like maybe the length of this race may be starting to get to Franco Scurry just a bit. See Hideki Koivitso starting to close that gap, now down to 2.3 seconds. Obviously, that is a ways to go, but right now, Scurry about just under a second slower than Koivitso. So that's certainly something we're going to keep an eye on here.
Undoubtedly. So you can see on the front stretch, Koivisto has visual, and a lot of times that can be all you need to start picking up the pace, try and reel in that car ahead, looking to get himself into fourth.
We call that hope, Joe.
Wonder what the word for that is in Finnish, as Koivisto tries his best trying to chase down the Italian driver.
Yeah, you know, we're missing a couple of key elements from the GTO series, like you said earlier on. With them not being here, it's changed the complexion of the race in the GTO class. And Ruscola, he's been allowed to kind of run away with it, but you know, and it was a bit smaller field today too. Only 9 GTOs started this race, as opposed to the 15 Nissan. So definitely see where that's played a factor here.
Well, whatever Mukanos needed to find, he found it, because look at this, down within half a second. For a while, he was only 0.3 behind John Malia. Now they come out of Charlotte's Web, can't get the grunt off the corner as they accordion apart. Slowing it up down to the bottom of the hill through Museum Corner. They've got 3 seconds over Olenek right now. Not under threat. They can fight it out if they want with 12 minutes to go. Mukanos now loses it. It was half a second. Stretched up to almost 9/10. Gains under braking down into 12 and 13. This is where he gained last lap, coming out of 16. Mukanos on the power. They are dead even. It is back up to a second. Whatever he got, Malia has responded now.
Oh, Philip Lake just avoiding AJ Bear going off track. Ooh, that was a close moment for Phil. Just trying to hang on to second place. Back in coming out of turn 14, or I think it was in the entry to 14 actually, and AJ loses the rear end of the car just as Philip Blake trying to come through, and he slid back across the track right in front of him.
Yes. The Australian did a fantastic job of just making that car stay where it is, basically. It could have been so easy for it to slide back across the track here from Lake's view. Whoa.
At that point, Phil's got no idea where he's going, and boy, he guessed right, or was it left? He guessed correctly.
Oh, and we've missed the pass for fourth. Koivisto's gotten past Scurry.
Oh, darn it.
That was on the front stretch. It was just about maybe 40 seconds ago. Let's look at the replay. Scurry's not letting him go.
Yeah, gets him on the main straight here. Just gets a run at him and then breaks a little bit deeper. Breaks a lot deeper, actually, down into turn one.
Not often you see passes into turn one. The way that track drops away makes it so difficult to execute.
Yeah, you're more concerned with just hanging onto the car and not getting it off the track right there. But that was a great move by Koivisto, and that gets him solidly into fourth now. And Scurry back in fifth. He's going to fight him here to the end.
Fantastic move by the Finn. Now 10 minutes left on the clock. Our closest fights are this one. Oh, and what happened to Lepisto here? Losing positions.
He gets into the back of Spencer Kemble trying to get through.
Hall gets on the radio to apologize. And Spencer apologizes as well. We're going to see from above. This will give us a great angle. You can see he was trying to hold to the outside, just letting them through. And then it looks like Lepisto didn't expect him to slow like that. Weaved back across and must have been a little bit of a blind spot from Hall.
Man. More trouble trying to pass here for the Nissans.
Well, this allows Pasilius to stretch away, be about 2.5 seconds ahead in fourth, and be able to run his own race to the end, not worry about the drivers behind as much. The fight for the lead is not over, though. Mukanos has been holding within a second, just can't seem to find a way through. It looks like this is now one of two fights because Scurry has dropped away from Koivisto about 2.5 seconds back, so Koivisto solidly in fourth. Meanwhile, look at the traffic these guys are dealing with, and Mukanos brave through there. My goodness.
Having to deal with some of their own traffic. Martin Krajcik definitely slow on track, but they all managed to get through there, Joe.
Traffic allowed Olenek to close up, but the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh, as Koivisto was in the wrong place at the wrong time for Olenek, and he had to check up, loses ground.
Boy, a lot of stopping and having to get started back up again on this track, Joe. Almost like a running back cutting up through the middle and having to change direction. I mean, it's just to compare another sport to it, but a lot of stop and start. Really tough on these cars today. And the drivers. Well,
only 7 more minutes before a touchdown celebration for 2 drivers, one in each class right now. John Malia holds the ball, and Mukanos wants it. He's been chasing him down. Olenek in the popcorn position as well, is making sure that he is in this fight if something erupts. Yeah, I heard the same thing from Philip Blake. He got on the radio, said, "Wow, a lap without traffic." That about sums up this race very well.
It really does. Yeah, I mean, Joe, a little bit more traffic than I actually thought. It's been more of a factor than I think we really thought it would be. I think that caught us out a little bit.
Well, we couldn't see it, but there's oh wait, I thought that was a pass for the lead. That's Kopak getting overtaken there. A lot of blue and white cars this season, Sean.
Yeah, boy, glad Soup's not here. We're going nuts with his rods and cones.
see Mukanos and Olenek, though, of course, teammates out in the Minolta machinery. That's Ben Laughter just ahead of Malia. Kind of caught at the wrong place. This is going to accordion them together. Malia's going to be able to get him before 10 and 11. Sneaks through, and poor Rob Olenek loses gobs of time. Not missing anything in the Audis in these last moments. Ruscola leads by 11 seconds over Lake, who's got 10 seconds over Laughter.
Tell you what, Ben Laughter probably looking like a prize fighter here at this point. All black and blue and beat up. This traffic is really just put it on him here today. But he's still hanging on here to third. Just don't know if there's much of a chance for him left to go battle with Philip Lake. It's 10 seconds ahead now.
Yeah, that Commodore machine's going to look a little bit more like an Atari after things are done.
Oh.
We're watching on board with Lake there as their Nissans try to slide by. Have to wonder if there's as much rubber offline as there is offline in this race. Just look at them try to get past the car of De Paris. And on top of that, that is Robanek that they now are top three go by before they go through 10 and 11. Olenek way off course into the grass. Mukano's brave on the brakes down in a 12 and 13. But he loses it on the exit.
Ooh. Kopak out on the grass, coming back and gets right out in front of Anti Lepisto. Lepisto able to slither by.
Lepisto still has the car of Hall behind him, trying to give chase. That, of course, is for a top 5. Running out of laps here for drivers to do something. Certainly not running out of opportunities. We've seen time after time that traffic is unavoidable, and Mukano's got a bad exit out of Charlotte's Web. That not only lost him time on first place, but put him into the clutches of his teammate Rob Olenek for second. We'll put another lap on our GTO leader, Ruscola. Oh, and this cost a ton of time, and it's perfect timing for Mukanos, who comes up around the outside. It's hard to pass, and either go side by side. He has to check up. His teammate almost gets into him, and Olenek barely avoids disaster. Somehow, Malia defends that P1.
I think he was all the way on the brake there. Not much doubt.
Tense moments. 3 laps to go now, we think. And Mukanos has lost all kinds of time to our leader. Mukanos might be kicking himself after that, if that was his last chance. Could he have been braver? Could have there been something he had done differently to try and pry that away from Malia? Down through Museum Corner one more time. You can see the difference between second and first as we ride on board with Olenek. He got up close to the rear of Mukanos, but couldn't do anything with him at the bottom of the hill. Now across the back half of the course.
They're close. I mean, they're not far, but can they get around him? Can they get there and get around him?
I think they're going to need a little bit of help. The pace of Malia is just too good at this point. 2 laps to go this time by.
Back here in the Audis, Ruscola just had to let a little more traffic through Martin Krychek and Martin Kopak. I'm sorry, Michael Kopak get by him clean. But Ruscola is still very much in control of his destiny here with 2 laps to go across the line for him.
Yeah, unless we see a major mistake or just a bad move by a Nissan, Ruscola seems to have this one wrapped up. We might want to go back to Jamie Hall, who is threatening Anti Lepisto, and actually he's into the wall right now.
No.
Oh, this was an accident minutes in the happening. Coming down into Charlotte's Web, he was sizing him up here, Sean. You can see he tried to get to the power, but car squirmed. Yep. He collected it a few times.
And then I think what happened was he tried to get back to the power again, which was on the straight there, and it spun on him again. Spun the tires on it.
He's able to keep going. He didn't lose his spot. He's still got 40 seconds over AJ Bear. So he is certainly not under threat as we come back live to this fight for P2. Lucanos, as the white flag comes out, might have to say goodbye to this win unless traffic helps him out. Can he hold off his teammate, though? Is Olenek going to try and charge through?
Franco Scurry is right in front of Malia. He's definitely going to catch him here. I say definitely. I'm thinking he probably will. We're not even halfway around yet.
The lap time difference just too great between the cars. He catches him at a bad time, though. Down in a museum corner. He has to check up. Here comes Mucanos. Mucanos has got to sneak by before they get through 10 and 11. He does get through. Scurry pulls over.
That helped.
It's down to half a second now. It was a second before. But he's running out of passing opportunities. Look at him close in down in 12 and 13. He is desperate. They've got another car. Zalek de Paris tries to hold to the inside, lets them through. Now it's a challenge for second. Here comes Olenek. Looking to the inside, down into 16. Nothing doing. Malia streaks away and takes the win here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Wow, what a fight.
All the way to the final corner. Ruscola over in the Audis, 13 seconds ahead of Lake. Danger Kitty has been calm, cool, and collected today.
Yeah, and Ruscola clears turn 13 well, now in a 14. One last time around here. Take the left-hander a 16 here in just a moment, and on his way to a victory.
A beautiful job by that pink and white machine. Ruscola takes the win in the GTO class at Barber Motorsports Park. Philip Lake, a long ways back, but still a solid drive here to take a podium. Same thing with Ben Laughter.
Yeah, great job by Laughter. It just seemed like he got the worst of that traffic and did a decent job managing it enough to hang on for a third place finish.
With that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Of course, on screen between the break and when we come back, we'll have all the upcoming races. But stick around because we've got the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, where we watched round 4 of the Kamel GT series, and man, this was a good one. I know it's often thought of that this track doesn't provide good racing, that it's so tough to pass, but I thought this was a stunner, and John Malia was the one who led the way home, taking the win in the GTPs. He held off Nicholas Mukanos, who tried his darndest to peel it away. Unfortunately, even with a last lap gasp, he could not get that P1 from Malia. Rob Olenek followed him home, also trying to get away second from Mukanos, from his teammate, but had to settle for the final podium position. Jesus Basilius, how about a nice run from him? He qualified in 7th. He finishes in 4th, keeping it on track and making the passes when he needed to. Few mistakes from Antti Lepisto puts him down into 5th after starting in 3rd. Not the race that he wanted, I'm sure. He had to fend off Jamie Hall, who unfortunately a late race mistake caused him some damage, and he is only able to get it home in 6th. AJ Bear as well, with a few mistakes, finishes in 7th today. Michael Kopak takes home 8th. Martin Krajcik finishes a lap down in 9th. John Keefe upset with a few of the other drivers in the Audi class. Unfortunately, with a few miscommunications, he rounds out the top 10. And Jason Wallet, that first lap incident unfortunately cost him. He finishes in 11th.
Okay, Joe, and then your winner in the Audi GTO class, it's going to be Mikko Riscola today. Danger Kitty in victory lane. Philip Lake, good run for him today. Will finish second. Ben Laughter, solid run for Ben. Keeps it on the track. Third place. Hideki Koivitso has to overtake Franco Scurry to finish 4th. And let's talk about Franco Scurry. Solid effort for the Italian today. 5th place. Bronislav Romanek will finish 6th. 7th going to Spencer Kemble. Zalek de Paris finishes 8th. And Riley Thompson closes out the GTO class there in 9th. And then, of course, you see Clayton McLeod down there on the bottom, 20th overall. Michael Steiner, 21st. Keith Ritchie and Michael Morris there at the end.
So let's talk to a few of our drivers today. First up, we have 2nd place in the GTPs, Nicholas Mukanos, who was trying so hard to get back to the front. Nick, talk about some of the moves that you made there late in the race on John. There was a few very gutsy tries, and everybody came out the other side, but what did it feel like from your end?
That was probably one of the most fun races I've had in Kamel since it started. I knew John had a little bit of pace on me, but every time we got the traffic, there was always a spot. So I was just chucking it in there. I knew he was a good driver and wouldn't. It'd be up to me to not crash. So I don't know, almost, but not quite.
Now, Rob was very threatening there at the end as well, trying to take second away from you. Are there any team orders to hold position when it gets close to the end, or is it every man for himself?
Yeah, no team orders. We like to battle it out, and we're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. It's a race to the end, and I actually didn't even notice he was there. I was so in the zone, I didn't even check the time. I noticed there was 6 minutes left, and Rob was right behind me.
So with this being a new track to the series, I believe, or at least the first time we broadcasted it, would you like to see Barber come back? It gave a lot of interesting racing from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah, this track is really fun. I like the kind of higher downforce, twisty tracks, so I wouldn't mind coming back.
Fantastic stuff. I'd like to see it back as well. Again, congratulations on a 2nd place today.
Yeah, thanks.
Up next, I believe it looks like we have one of our GTO drivers, 3rd place, Ben Laughter, ready for a chat with Sean.
Ben, what a race today, man. You kept trying to stay in a battle with Philip Lake, but every time the traffic came through, it kept busting you guys up. You got to settle for 3rd, but I'm thinking maybe overall you're going to be pretty happy with that finish today.
I'm happy to have finished. It's always easy to have confirmation bias and think, man, I'm not getting through the traffic as well as him, and it's bad luck. I just felt like I kept getting caught at really bad spots. But whatever mad genius came up with this racetrack, I love that guy, because this is what a great place to race. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I made the comment that you had to have been feeling a little bit like a prize fighter there in the cockpit of your machine. Maybe a little black and blue, maybe a little bit beat up.
A little bit. I didn't have any impacts with any of the Nissans, just bad placement on both of our parts. The only damage that I got was from an unpracticed Audi back marker who was getting lapped over and over, and he was just right in the middle of the racing line, way off the pace, and I hit him.
Yeah, and that's tough when your competitors may not be quite as prepared as you are. I know Philip Lake's in the chat here talking about how incredibly drained he is after that race. How about you? Was that kind of a draining experience for you?
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to thank Philip publicly for coming over to the Audi, joining the dark side, because it's so much fun to race against him. I think he and I are similar pace and similar driving style. And so, I've already raced him a couple times this season pretty closely, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the future.
Yeah, I'd say you two were pretty evenly matched. I think that's a great observation there, Ben. And I'll tell you what, we're going to look forward to seeing, as this season continues on, to seeing some more battles between you and Phil. And, a great podium finish today. Going to love the points for that early in the season. If you're going to pick up points early on is a good place to start.
Yeah, you bet. I'll take a podium against this crowd any day.
Well, sir, we will see you next week, and we thank you for the time. Congratulations on a third place finish. What's on the schedule for Ben Laughter for the rest of the day?
Oh, probably some Bathurst 1000 practice. That fun stuff. We've got to defend last year's win. All
right. Well, go get after it. Boy, talk about getting out of one amazing beast into another, that V8 supercar.
Yeah,
boy,
it's good times.
Have fun, man.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
And thanks to Ben Laughter. Boy, what a run for him today. Joe, I know Rob Olenek had quite a day, and I think you've caught up with him, haven't you?
Indeed, we've had. Rob finished with a third place, just behind his teammate here today in those Minolta machines. Rob, you started in 6th, and it seemed like another case where drivers started to fall away, and you had a great opportunity. Did you think the win was possible for you?
I was hoping so. It felt like everyone else was getting a little slower, and my lap times were pretty consistently staying about the same. I'm not sure why that was, but that race was a blast.
It was a blast for us to watch and call as well. You gave us a lot of excitement toward the end of it. Now, next round, we're going over to Sonoma, it looks like, which is very similar in the fact that it's very twisty, very few places to try and overtake. Did you learn anything racing here today that you think will help you next week?
I think it's a similar kind of track where it's going to be tight. Someone's going to have to make a mistake for you to get by. The first time we raced at Sonoma, I hated that track, but I've grown to love the track. It's pretty awesome. Today was funny. I at the last corner in today's race, I wanted to tuck it up inside Nick, but I think if it was anyone else besides Nick, I probably would have done it.
So, trying to obey the number one rule in racing: don't take out your teammate. There, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're doing fairly well in the points this season, sitting in 3rd, if I remember correctly here. Just checking real quick. Yes, you are sitting in 3rd. Is that your goal in the end, trying to take that 3rd place with the next ones up being Tapani and Keith, or do you think you can move any more positions higher?
I think Tapani and Keith are in another league, and I'm right there below them. I think I would love to beat one of them heads up without them making a mistake, and that would be my goal, and I would be extremely happy if I could do that at some point.
I can understand if that feels like a bit of a tall ask, but nothing is impossible in racing, and hopefully we'll see you next week again.
All right, see you later, guys.
That was Rob Olenek, 3rd place finisher in the GTPs, and I believe Sean is going to be talking to Michael Kopak, who came home in 8th today.
Yeah, Michael, a great run there, a tough run in your Nissan today. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like trying to get through the traffic today. Mike, can you hear us, buddy? I bet he can hear us, but he probably can't get his mic working, Joe.
Give him just a little second to try and get himself hooked up. We've got an intern fiddling with the lav mic here.
Yeah, and Mike picked up 4 spots today. Started there in the back of the Nissan field and finishes 8th for his efforts. Not a bad day at the office.
We'll give him one more chance, Mike.
Buddy.
Looks like it's not working, unfortunately. So, well, that means we'll have to close up for today. We'll try and get Mike back next week and talk to him after next race. But before we go, a huge thanks to the Kamel GT community for all their help in organizing this series and making it as awesome as it is. And thanks to Rob Olenek and Andrew Backey, who do some work to help with the VCR points behind the scenes. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find those at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, or we're on Facebook, and that is Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, as we mentioned, Sonoma, all the way out to California. Going to be a difficult race again. That'll be Saturday, October 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.